The street was cold and wet, lit by the red and blue flashes of police lights that cut through the early evening mist. A crowd had gathered, their phones up, filming every second of the madness unfolding. "Get down." Officer Mark Daniels barked, his hand trembling slightly as he pointed his gun at a young black woman standing beside a broken-down silver Toyota. Her name was Tasha Green, a single mother of one, dressed in a Navy nurse uniform, her ID badge still clipped to her chest. She had just finished a 12-hour hospital shift and was driving home when her car stalled at the intersection. What began as a simple traffic stop turned into a nightmare in seconds. Mark's eyes burned with arrogance as he stepped closer. "You think you can talk back to me, huh? You people never learn." His voice was dripping with hostility. Tasha's hands were raised high, tears cutting through the sweat on her face. "Officer, please. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just trying to get home to my son." The onlookers murmured nervously. Phones captured every moment, but no one dared to step forward. Then it happened. Mark's hand shot forward, slap. The sound cracked through the air, like a whip. Tasha's face snapped to the side, a gasp tore from her lips, and for a heartbeat, silence blanketed the street. Then chaos.
"Yo."
"He just slapped her," someone shouted. "Keep filming," yelled another. Mark straightened his uniform, unbothered. "You people think these cameras scare me? I've been doing this job 20 years. I run this block." Tasha slowly turned back toward him, her cheeks stinging, eyes blazing, not with fear this time, but rage. Her voice trembled, but her words carried weight. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." Mark laughed. "Oh yeah? You gonna call your little boyfriend to save you?" The air was electric with tension. The flashing lights painted the street in streaks of red and blue, like war banners clashing under the night sky. Jay Green stood his ground, his jaw tight, his arms still protectively around his sister. The uniformed man who had just arrived, Captain Ross Turner, stormed forward, his voice booming. "Lieutenant Green, what in God's name do you think you're doing? That's my officer you've got in cuffs." Jay's eyes didn't waver. "Your officer assaulted an unarmed woman in public, my sister. You can review every second of footage from these cameras." He gestured toward the crowd, who still had their phones aimed. "There's your evidence." Ross sneered. "You think this mob means anything? You're crossing a line, Lieutenant. I'll have your badge for this." Tasha's voice cracked, but she forced it steady. "He pointed a gun at me, Captain. Then he slapped me when I begged him to stop." The crowd gasped. Someone shouted, "She's a nurse, man. She saves lives for a living." Jay turned to the captain, his tone icy. "You better tread carefully. You try to cover for him, you go down with him." Mark Daniels, now sweating and red-faced, tried to regain control. "You people are all the same. Always playing the victim." That sentence snapped something inside Jay. He stepped forward, staring Mark down with quiet fury. "You pointed a gun at my sister, hit her, and still have the nerve to talk?" Mark spat toward the ground. "She was being aggressive." Tasha looked stunned. "Aggressive? I was crying, begging you to listen." Jay leaned close, his voice calm but lethal. "You're done talking. You've said enough." Two tactical officers tightened their grip on Mark. The captain barked, "Let him go now, or I'll call the commissioner myself." Jay smiled faintly. "Do it. Let's see what he says when he learns who you're defending." The captain hesitated, glancing around at the dozens of phones recording every word. His authority was slipping. Meanwhile, Tasha's phone buzzed. She looked down, a message from her hospital's head of security. Footage of the assault already spreading on social media. "It's going viral." Her heart raced. "Jay," she whispered, "people are sharing it online. It's everywhere already." Jay's gaze sharpened. "Good. The world should see what he did." For the first time, Mark looked uncertain. His bravado cracked. You can't do this to me. You don't know who I know." Jay tilted his head. "You think your connections will save you? Let's test that theory." He nodded to his men. They began leading Mark toward the SUV. Then, out of nowhere, a voice cut through the noise. A woman's voice, stern and commanding. The drive through the city was silent except for the hum of the tires on wet pavement. The glow of the streetlights reflected off the windshield, painting streaks of orange across Tasha's tired face. Her cheek was swollen from the slap, and Jay couldn't stop glancing at it, his jaw tightening every time. They turned onto a quieter street, away from the flashing chaos of downtown Atlanta. Jay parked in front of an apartment complex surrounded by oaks and dim lights. He scanned the area, cautious, alert, before stepping out. Tasha followed, clutching her purse close. "Jay, what if they're watching us right now?" He shook his head. "They won't try anything tonight. Not with the department already under a microscope. But I need you to tell me exactly what's been happening lately." Inside her apartment, the scent of lavender filled the air. Everything was neat, almost too neat. Jay noticed the small details. The crooked curtain, the chair moved slightly out of place, the faint smell of cigarette smoke near the door. "You don't smoke," he muttered. Tasha froze. "No, I don't." Jay drew his gun, eyes sharp. "Stay behind me." He moved quietly, checking each room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. No one. But when he opened the back window, he saw the latch was broken. "Someone's been here." Tasha pressed a hand to her chest. "Oh my God." Jay closed the window and turned to her. "Pack a bag. You're not staying here tonight." She moved quickly, tossing clothes and her nurse's scrubs into a small duffel bag. Her hands shook. "Jay, what if this is connected to him, that cop?" Jay didn't answer immediately. He picked up a small metallic object from the floor, a police-issue penlight. It wasn't hers. "Yeah," he said finally. "It's connected." They left the apartment and drove to Jay's house on the other side of town. It was nearly midnight when they arrived. Jay's home was modest but secure. Cameras at every corner, reinforced doors, security system armed. Once Tasha settled on the couch, Jay poured her some water and sat across from her. "Tell me everything you remember from tonight," he said softly. She nodded, staring into the glass in her hands. "I was on my way home from the hospital. The car started sputtering near Fulton and Vine, so I pulled over. Officer Daniels, pulled up behind me. I thought he was stopping to help. Then he said my taillight was broken." Jay frowned. "You don't have a broken taillight." "Exactly," she said. "I told him that, and he told me to get out of the car. When I asked why, he started yelling that I was being difficult. Then he pointed his gun." Her voice cracked. "Jay, I was so scared. I thought that was it." Jay's fists clenched. He's done for this. Morning crept slowly into the Atlanta skyline, but for Tasha, sleep had been impossible. She sat curled on Jay's couch, staring blankly at the muted TV news, replaying the footage of her assault. Breaking news. Officer Mark Daniels suspended after video surfaces of assaulting unarmed black woman. The anchor's voice was calm, but the footage replayed the slap in slow motion, over and over. The moment frozen in time, shared millions of times overnight. Tasha winced. "I can't watch this anymore," she muttered, lowering her head. "It's like I'm reliving it every second." Jay entered the room, his badge clipped to his belt, coffee in hand. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. "You shouldn't be watching the coverage. The media's already twisting parts of it." "How?" she asked quietly. "They're calling it a tense misunderstanding during a traffic stop." He sighed, setting the coffee down. "They're not saying it was assault. Not saying he threatened you with a weapon. Just tension." Tasha clenched her fists. Typical. They want to soften it. Make it sound less ugly. Jay's phone buzzed again. He picked it up and frowned. A text from Chief Porter. "Watch your back. Internal affairs isn't your friend. Someone's leaking info." Jay rubbed his temples. "It's already spreading inside the department. They know you're with me." A loud thud startled them both. Something hit the window. Jay spun, gun drawn, but it was just an envelope taped to the glass. He approached cautiously, ripped it open. Inside was a single piece of paper with a typed message. "Drop the case or your sister's next." Tasha gasped, covering her mouth. "Jay." He folded the note tightly, jaw locking. "They're getting desperate." "We should go to the FBI," she whispered. "You said this is bigger than him." Then let them handle it. Jay shook his head. Not yet. If I go outside the department, it'll look like I don't trust my own team. They'll brand me as a traitor. But they are corrupt, she snapped. How long before they do to you what they did to me? He met her eyes, his voice steady. That's exactly why I can't stop now. Before she could argue, there was another knock, soft but deliberate. Jay peered through the peephole. A young man stood outside, hood pulled low, hands visible. Jay opened the door cautiously. The man whispered, Lieutenant Green? I work in records. You don't know me, but I think you need to see this. He handed Jay a flash drive and looked around nervously. I'm risking my job. That file wasn't supposed to exist. But Daniels isn't just a bad cop. He's part of a protection ring. They've been covering for dirty officers for years. Jay frowned. Protection ring? The car screeched around the corner, tires hissing on the wet asphalt. Jay's grip on the steering wheel was tight, his jaw locked, eyes flicking between the rearview mirror and the road ahead. No sign of pursuit yet, but both of them knew that didn't mean they were safe. Tasha sat in the passenger seat, trembling. Her knuckles were white as she clutched the flash drive to her chest. Smoke and sirens echoed in the distance. Jay, she said softly, her voice shaking. Deshawn's gone. Jay didn't look at her. He knew what he was doing. He wanted us to make it out. He was your friend. He still is, Jay said, voice heavy. If what's on that drive takes down Turner and the rest, Deshawn's sacrifice won't be for nothing. They drove in silence for a few miles, the city lights fading behind them. When they finally stopped, it was in an empty parking lot by the Chattahoochee River. Jay turned off the headlights and sat back, exhaling. All right, he said. We need to plan our next move. Tasha glanced at him, her face pale. You mean before they find us? Exactly. He took the flash drive from her, holding it between his fingers. We need to make copies. Hide it in multiple places. If they destroy one, we'll still have proof. She nodded slowly. But how? You can't trust anyone in the department, and going to the press could get us both killed. Jay smirked faintly. Not if we choose the right person. Someone who's been fighting the system for years. Tasha frowned. Who? He looked at her. Remember that journalist you met at the hospital fundraiser last year? The one who covers police misconduct stories. Naomi Fields? That's the one. She's clean. Doesn't take hush money. Doesn't flinch from threats. If anyone can get this story out safely, it's her. Before they could move, headlights appeared in the distance, a single black SUV pulling into the far end of the lot. Jay's instincts kicked in. Get down. They ducked just as the SUV door opened. A man stepped out, silhouetted by the lights. Then another. Both armed. Tasha's heart pounded. They found us already? Jay peeked over the dashboard. No, wait. The men weren't approaching. Instead, one of them tossed a small black object to the ground. A phone. Then both got back into the SUV and drove off. The phone started ringing. Jay stepped out cautiously, picked it up, and answered. A distorted voice came through. Lieutenant Green. You think you're clever, but you have no idea who you're fighting. Jay's grip tightened. Then tell me, who are you? The voice chuckled. We protect this city in ways you could never understand. You expose us, and chaos follows. You think we're the villains, but without us, the streets would drown in blood. Morning crept in slowly over Atlanta, a thin, gray light seeping through the clouds. The city was restless. Sirens echoed in the distance. News choppers hovered above downtown, and every screen flashed with one breaking headline after another. Police officer found dead in suspected retaliation attack. Internal affairs investigating. Jay stared at the motel TV, jaw tightening. Deshawn's name wasn't mentioned, but he knew what this was, a distraction. A convenient scapegoat story to cover up the real operation. Tasha sat beside him on the bed, wrapping her arms around herself. They're turning the city against you. Jay nodded grimly. And it's working. By now, every cop in the force probably thinks I killed one of their own. But you didn't. They don't care, he cut in. The truth stopped mattering the moment we got that flash drive. He reached for his phone, a new burner he'd picked up at a gas station before dawn, and dialed a number scribbled on a napkin. It rang 3 times before a woman's voice answered. Naomi Fields. Naomi, it's Jay Green. We met at the precinct fundraiser 2 years ago. There was a long pause. Lieutenant Green? Why are you calling me on a block number? Because my life's in danger, he said plainly. And I have something that could expose the corruption running through APD. Another pause. You know you're asking me to risk my career. Maybe my life too? I know, Jay said. But I also know you're not afraid of the truth. Naomi exhaled audibly. Where do you want to meet? West End Station. 2 p.m. There's an old coffee shop across the street, Cafe Roots. We'll sit in the back. Come alone, she warned. If I see anyone else with you, I walk. Jay glanced at Tasha. Understood. He hung up. Tasha's eyes widened. You're not seriously going alone? I have to, he said. She won't show otherwise. I'm coming too, she insisted. You'll need proof. And besides, this started with me. Jay hesitated, then nodded. All right. But if anything feels off, we run. No hesitation. At 2:05 p.m., the bell above the cafe door jingled softly as they walked in. The place was quiet, the kind of old Atlanta shop where murals of jazz legends lined the walls and the smell of roasted beans hung thick in the air. Naomi Fields was already there, seated in the far corner. She looked exactly like Tasha remembered, calm, confident, and sharp-eyed, the kind of woman who saw through lies like glass. Lieutenant, she greeted coolly. And Miss? Tasha Williams, Jay said. She's a nurse. Witness to the incident. Naomi nodded once. Let's talk. Jay slid the flash drive across the table. Everything you knew. The walls of the interrogation room were gray and cold, the kind of gray that swallowed light and time. Jay sat still, hands cuffed to the table, his reflection faint in the one-way mirror before him. Hours had passed, no food, no water, just silence. Finally, the door opened with a sharp metallic squeak. 2 FBI agents stepped in, the same ones from the cafe. The taller one, Agent Cole, carried a folder, while his partner, Agent Ramirez, lingered near the door, arms crossed. Cole dropped the file on the table and sat down. Lieutenant Green, he began smoothly. You've had quite the week. Jay didn't reply. He just stared, steady and unflinching. Cole flipped the file open, revealing a series of photos, grainy surveillance shots, crime scene stills, and one that made Jay's blood run cold. It was a photo of Daniels, the racist cop, lying dead in a parking lot, a single gunshot wound to the head. Recognize him? Cole asked. Jay's jaw tightened. Yeah. The man who assaulted my sister. Cole nodded. He's dead. Ballistics suggests the bullet came from your registered service weapon. Jay's head snapped up. That's impossible. My weapon was seized 2 nights ago by Internal Affairs. Cole smirked faintly. And yet, the evidence says otherwise. Jay leaned forward, his eyes locked on Cole's. You're not investigating the truth. You're covering it up. The smirk vanished. Cole's expression hardened. Careful with your words, Lieutenant. You're not on the force anymore. Jay chuckled bitterly. Yeah, I figured that much when you skipped protocol and dragged me in without a warrant. Ramirez shifted uncomfortably, but said nothing. Cole leaned closer, lowering his voice. Here's the thing, Green. We know about the drive. We know you've been working with that reporter, Naomi Fields. Hand over the original files, and maybe we can work something out. Jay sat back, calm but cold. You think I have them? Cole's gaze darkened. We think you know where they are. Jay smirked faintly. Then you're already too late. Before Cole could respond, the door burst open. A uniformed officer stepped in, whispering something urgently into Cole's ear. Whatever it was made the agent's expression twist with anger. What do you mean it's trending? Cole hissed. Jay's lips curved slightly. You might want to check your phone, Agent. Cole whipped out his phone, and there it was. Every major network, every social platform, Naomi's article. The headline now read, Exclusive, Racist Cops Hidden Network Exposed, FBI and City Officials Implicated. Ramirez cursed under his breath. Sir, she's got documents with our field. Atlanta didn't sleep that night. By dusk, the city was pulsing with sirens, chants, and flashing lights. Protesters flooded the downtown streets, holding up signs that read, "Justice for Tasha. End police corruption. We see you, APD." The air was thick with tension, fear, and defiance. Cameras rolled from every angle as the world watched the story unfold in real time. Inside Naomi's makeshift newsroom, the atmosphere was electric. The hum of computers and the chatter of online feeds filled the space as new data kept pouring in from anonymous whistleblowers. Naomi's article had ignited a movement, and now the evidence was growing by the hour. Tasha sat at a small desk, phone in hand, scrolling through comments. Her face was pale, but her eyes were burning with purpose. "They're all over the world," she whispered. "People from Lagos, London, New York, they're all talking about it. About what he did to me." Naomi leaned over her shoulder. "Then let's give them more to talk about." She clicked go live. Within seconds, tens of thousands of viewers joined the live stream. The feed showed Naomi and Tasha sitting side by side, one composed, one trembling, their faces framed by the glow of truth. Naomi began, her voice firm and steady. "Good evening, everyone. You've seen the video. You've read the reports. But what you don't know is that this goes deeper than one racist officer. The corruption inside the Atlanta Police Department has roots in government contracts, private prisons, and political money. Tonight, we're going to show you proof." She turned to Tasha. "But before we begin, Tasha, I want people to hear what you went through in your own words." Tasha swallowed hard. Her hands shook, but she spoke. "He slapped me for asking why I was being stopped. He pointed a gun in my face like my life meant nothing. But what he didn't know was that my brother's body camera caught everything. He didn't know I wasn't alone that night." The chat exploded, waves of hearts, angry emojis, and messages of support flooding in. Naomi continued, "For everyone watching, type in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's show them how far this truth has traveled. Let's show them they can't hide from the world anymore." The comments section lit up instantly. "South Africa here. Chicago watching loud and clear. Nigeria stands with Tasha. UK here, stay strong." Tasha's eyes filled with tears as she watched. "They're with us," she whispered. Naomi nodded. "And they'll stay with us, as long as we keep the truth coming." She pressed a button on her keyboard, and the live stream feed switched to a clip. Internal emails between Chief Turner and several city officials discussing containment and strategic neutralization of media. Rain poured hard over the city, washing away the last glimmer of daylight as Jay and Tasha crouched behind the bullet-riddled car. Smoke rose from the shattered laptop, sparks hissing out like dying fireflies. Tasha's voice trembled. "Jay, the file." "I know," he said, pulling her closer. "They destroyed it. But not the truth." He peeked over the car hood. Porter's body lay motionless in the open. The faint red light of the sniper's scope had vanished, the shooter already gone. Jay's jaw tightened as he checked Porter's pulse. Nothing. But in her jacket pocket, something caught his eye, a small flash drive, wrapped in blood-stained paper. He unfolded it carefully. On it were 2 words scrawled in shaky handwriting. "Second backup." Jay's breath hitched. She didn't come here to stop us. She came to save the file. Tasha clutched his arm. "Then we can still expose them?" He nodded, his voice firm. "If this drive works, yes. But we have to move. They'll sweep this area any minute." They slipped out of the garage through a side door and into the back streets of Atlanta. The rain masked their footsteps as they ducked into an abandoned laundromat 2 blocks away. Inside, Jay locked the door and powered up an old laptop from his go bag. The machine hummed to life. He inserted the flash drive. "Decrypting secondary file, 12%. Tasha paced nervously. "Jay, what if they track us again? We're out of hiding spots." "They can try," he said quietly. "But they're running out of time too." Then, the sound of faint tapping echoed from outside. Tasha froze. 3 quick knocks, pause. Then 2 more. Jay tensed, drawing his weapon. Who's there? A soft female voice replied through the door. Don't shoot, it's me. Tasha's eyes widened. Naomi? Jay yanked open the door. There she was, soaked, bruised, and pale, but alive. Naomi, Tasha cried, rushing forward to hug her. We thought they got you. Naomi winced, clutching her side. They tried, but I had help. Jay guided her inside quickly. What happened? Naomi collapsed into a chair. They raided the safe house. Porter stayed behind to buy me time. I escaped through the back alley. She didn't make it, did she? Jay shook his head slowly.
No.
But she left this. He pointed to the decrypting flash drive. Naomi's eyes widened. That's the second copy. She must have hidden it after our last upload attempt. Then we finished what she started, Jay said. The progress bar climbed 63%, 78%, 94%, and then, access granted. The screen flooded with The rain hadn't stopped. It poured in thick, merciless sheets, washing the city clean, or maybe trying to. But some stains went too deep for water to reach. Jay and Tasha drove through the empty Atlanta streets in silence. Naomi's blood still stained Jay's sleeve. The laptop, cracked but alive, rested between them on the dashboard, its faint glow flickering like a heartbeat. The world had seen the leak. Black ivory was trending everywhere. Hashtag justice for Tasha. Hashtag end Black Ivory. Hashtag Helix exposed. But the people at the top hadn't fallen yet. Helix Dynamics had gone dark, its executives vanishing overnight. The mayor denied knowledge. The police chief called it a misunderstanding. Jay clenched the steering wheel. They're trying to bury it. Again. Tasha stared out the window, her reflection pale in the glass. Then we dig them up. He glanced at her, tired, broken, but fierce. Just like their mother used to be. Where do we start? She asked. Jay's eyes hardened. With the man who funded Helix, Senator Conrad Blake. Tasha turned sharply. You found him. Jay nodded. Naomi left one more file. A hidden address. Private estate. North of the city. That's where he's hiding. The mansion was quiet when they arrived, too quiet. Security lights blinked faintly along the perimeter, reflecting off the wet gravel. Jay loaded his weapon. Stay behind me. Tasha smirked grimly. You say that every time, and I never do. He almost smiled. Almost. They slipped through the back gate. Inside, the house was vast, marble floors, golden chandeliers, portraits of powerful men smiling down like gods. At the top of the staircase stood Senator Conrad Blake, silver-haired, calm, and wearing a tailored suit like he'd been waiting for them. Well, he said, voice smooth as glass. The siblings of chaos. I wondered when you'd come. Jay raised his gun. You knew what Helix was doing. You funded it. Blake sighed, hands clasped behind his back. I funded research. Progress. You think I knew every detail? Tasha stepped forward. They used people, Senator. They used me. Blake's expression didn't change. Every nation runs on sacrifice, Ms. Williams. Some just pretend not to. Jay's finger tightened on the trigger. You murdered Naomi. Porter. How many others? Blake smirked. Collateral. Nothing personal. Tasha's voice cracked. You don't get to call human lives collateral. He chuckled lightly. You think exposing us will change anything? Power rewrites history, my dear. Tomorrow, they'll call you terrorists, not heroes. Jay lowered his gun slowly. For a moment, Blake seemed triumphant, until Jay pulled out the small recording device Naomi had given him. Already done, Jay said coldly. You've been live for the last 5 minutes. Blake froze. Jay turned the device toward him. The small red light blinked. Say hi to the people, Senator. From outside, sirens wailed again. Dozens of them this time. The gates burst open as FBI vehicles